Have you ever had this happen to you? Wow, I love this character's design. I want to draw them. I wonder if they have a rough sheet. Let me check. There is one, and it's... I'm sure you have. Well, since the biggest character drawing event, Art Fight, is coming up in a few months, let's go over the biggest and most important part of participating in Art Fight, and just having OCs in general, having a good ref sheet. Now you guys are probably going to be like, but Daryl, I hate making ref sheets and I already got all of this art of these characters. I don't need a ref sheet. I don't like making them. And in some ways, you're right. Which is why this video is going to be catered to two kinds of people. Those who want cool yet easy to read ref sheets, and those who can't be bothered or don't have the time to put something fancy together. I mean, just take a look at my ref sheets, which is also going to be the art for today's video. My ref sheets are very bare bones, with gray backgrounds and usually only one drawing on them, sometimes more if I have to put an extra view or just some added details that are not noticeable on the main ref. This is how I make my refs, and they don't have to be the way you make them if you want something nicer. You don't have to have a ref sheet with a million different bits about your character's design if you can't stand the idea of putting that much effort into it. But you should at least have something that helps artists understand how you envision your character to look in general. I'm going to be giving these tips in a way that is explicitly about making ref sheets for Art Fight, but these tips can be used outside of the event as well, even if you're a writer who doesn't draw. I'm using Art Fight as an example because it's the one big yearly event where I see the issues with ref sheets pop up all the time, and last year I thought I could make a video about that, and I originally wanted to make this video for last year, but by the time it came to my head it was already the end of May, so I decided to save it for this year. Everyone has different skills levels and resources, and some of the common mistakes I see being pointed out to others may be ones that you've never thought of before, so hopefully you learned something new from this video. So enjoy! I'll be putting these into a list of do's and don'ts to make a workable ref sheet because that's what some of these tips are. So without further ado, let's begin. We're going to start strong with one that is the bane of many artists' experience when they are presented with a character to draw. My first tip is, do not render your ref sheets. This includes shadows, highlights, effects, and anything you would use for a fully rendered illustrated piece. If you are drawing your ref sheet, you should only be including the flat colors of your characters, and that is it. No highlights, no shadows, and no special overlays to give your image a pop. The basic colors of your character are all you need. It provides the problems that screenshot references also have, and that it's hard to see what the colors are supposed to be. Fine details can be hidden in shadows, and people can mess up colors or skin tones if you're an artist who tends to overdo it with the highlights. I'll be talking more about references involving screenshots later, but for now let's focus on drawing reference sheets. Specifically the drawing aspect of it. Keep your characters in just flat colors to make it easier for readability and understanding what a character looks like, but also this is for younger artists who may be new to digital art, but using the dodge and color burn tools for shading and highlighting will mess up your colors on your ref sheet. If you want your characters drawn right, then skip the shading and lighting. A ref sheet does not need it, and also it'll save you a lot of time if you're somebody who hates doing ref sheets because, oh, they spend so much time, it takes forever, I don't want to do this. Are you shading and highlighting your ref sheet? Don't do it, it'll save so much time. And also think of it this way. You may understand that your character has black stripes and white spots on their gray fur if your character is like an animal of some sort, but if your highlights and shading are covering that fact up, then you're at the risk of someone drawing your character completely wrong. Do not shade your ref sheet at all. If you want a really pretty ref sheet, add some simple gradient or some simple designs in the background. You can keep the pretty aspects while keeping your ref sheet readable, just make sure to put an outline of some kind around your character to make it easier to distinguish your character from the background, so that you can keep your pretty ref sheet without sacrificing the readability. Which brings me to my next tip. Please, please, please have an easy to pick color palette on your character's ref. If you look at my ref sheets, I just put dots for the colors and group them to roughly where they go, and I tend to not repeat colors if I can help it. Sometimes I even see people use hex codes along with the color palette, in case the color picking isn't accurate, I guess, or just some people prefer to do it that way. One example of good, simple ref sheets I've seen are from comic characters whose reference sheets are pictures of the character from the comic by taking out images of them from comic panels in various angles and poses, and then there's the palette next to those images. We know what the character looks like, get an idea of who they are and their personality, and we have the ability to grab the character's colors despite what effect they may have on them. A scene that takes place at night that may be used in the reference won't have any effect because there's an easy to grab color palette right next to it. Super simple and easy for people who may not have the time to do a fully finished ref sheet, but if you have a bunch of different images of your character already and you really want art of them, you could just throw a bunch of images together and put a palette there, and as long as the images show your character's design and whatever else you really want people to understand about your character, you could just throw something together. You don't have to draw a completely brand new ref sheet if you just really don't want to. Also, try to have at least some kind of full body reference for your character. Now that doesn't mean you have to actually go out and draw the full body, and it doesn't have to be a full body of the character themselves, but something that gives us an idea of what a character looks like if you were to see the whole thing. Picrew is a great resource to quickly make bust shots and even sometimes full body images of your OCs. I've done commissions for people before where the only references I had to use were Picrew images, but they also provided pictures of what the commissioner wanted the leg and waist area looked like, and just any other details that the Picrew may not have been able to put in there, such as certain accessories or lack thereof. There are plenty of images to use out there as references for body types to outfit designs, and for example, if you're a writer who doesn't draw but wants art of your character, or you don't have the time to actually put some kind of references together, having an image of something that resembles what you're looking for will help artists greatly understand what you're going for with your character's design. Feel free to ask for adjustments if the closest image you can find to your character's design isn't completely what you envisioned. I also have been given written descriptions of characters' designs paired with images before, and I can tell you they help immensely if the creator knows exactly what they're looking for. This tip also pairs very well with my next one. Do not make your written description for your character's design vague. Let's do an example. You are working on a story about cats in the woods, and you have the perfect image of your main protagonist, who is a brown cat. You desperately want art of this character, but when the artist asks what your character looks like, all you tell them is, he's a brown cat! Then you get the art and it looks nothing like how you imagined. The fur isn't the same shade of brown, the fur length is too short, his face is too flat. You're not happy with the commission, and the artist is willing to change it, but since they would have to redo the whole drawing to your specifications, they say you'll have to pay a fee for you to redo it. Now, setting aside the fact that commissioners should send sketches of drawings before finishing it, do you see what the problem is in this scenario? Although you have the most perfect image in your head of your character, other people don't. Finding reference images or words to describe your character more accurately will make the drawing process easier. So next time you want your cat protagonist drawn, you can say he is a fluffy brown tabby cat with golden eyes, a very fluffy tail, and one white paw. Can you mentally see what this character looks like now? Okay, we got a few easy ones out of the way, but now we're going for a hardball. And this one, I'm going to need you to sit down for us. This may be my most controversial tip. Are you sitting? Okay. If your references are screenshots, pictures, or are comprised of traditionally drawn art, and you do not have a clear digital color palette, then you need to be prepared for people to fuck up your character's colors. Let me tell a short story. Back in 2018, the day after I first played the game Far Cry 5, I wanted to make a quick ref for my deputy anime. I pulled up my only reference, which was a very bad photo I took on my phone because I was playing the game on my PlayStation 4 and I forgot that you could do screenshots on the thing. I unfortunately don't have the picture anymore, but in the character creation and outfit changing part of the game, the lighting used to light up your character absolutely overexposes your character. So when you take a picture on your phone of the screen, it is so much brighter and uglier than just looking at it from the game. But it was fine to me because I could fix them when I colored the ref sheet in. After all, I did design anime, and I know what she looked like in the game, so it shouldn't be a problem. By the way, here's a couple of screenshots of my daughter from when I got Far Cry 5 on PC. I don't draw Far Cry stuff anymore, but I still adore her. She's absolutely still one of my favorite OCs I ever made, ever. She's great, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous. Anyway, I went and I made the sketch for the ref sheet, and while I did, a friend of mine came over to watch. This friend is not white, and I do have a reason for mentioning that because I have a point to mentioning that, so let me just get to it. I was coloring an anime skin tone, and she's black, and I wanted to get the right color I picked in the game, but my picture of the TV screen I was using was so bad it didn't help much. I asked my friend if the color looked right, showing my reference image next to the drawing. She said no and made suggestions to what I could do for the skin to make it more accurate, which I started to follow until I realized she was directly referencing the screenshot image's skin tone, which, because of the combination of crappy photo picture and overexposed lighting, made anime skin tone look so much more white than it actually is. I told her the problem with the picture, and she apologized, then took a look at the colors I was originally using, giving suggestions to the color I was messing with to get the skin tone the way I wanted it to look. So why am I telling this story? Because my point is that anyone can take your screenshots at face value. They can take your traditional art at face value. Trust me, I have characters with skin tones that I draw digitally that I am so mad it's so hard to find the skin tones for as a marker. I get it. Yes, my picture was a picture of a screen and not like an actual screenshot, but I have seen pictures of traditionally drawn refs and screenshots shot in horrible lighting. I am looking at all you Baldur's Gate 3 artists. Why do you not take your pictures in like lighted areas? Why are all you guys why are all your screenshots in such dark areas? Some of my friends have drawn characters and color picked from traditional refs, but got yelled at because the colors were not accurate despite the fact that it's a traditional ref, and sometimes after taking a look at the reference photo, the photo itself was just kind of bad. Yes, there are some bad actors out there. I do not want to make this seem like that, like, not everybody on the internet is, like, racist in some way. I have had my OCs been whitewashed before, and do I have to bring up the number of not white and especially black female video game characters that people whitewash? There's so much of it on the internet, these poor women. Racism in art communities is a huge issue, and it's something that shouldn't be tolerated in any space at all. But I think you could tell the difference from someone who took your screenshot reference at face value and someone who's actually being racist. I mean, come on. Some artists too may still be new to art and may not know how to properly color pick things from a shaded reference. I know my little sister, she used to pick, when she wanted to draw characters, she would pick from the highlighted area, and I had to point out that those are the highlights when she started art, and then she eventually got better at it. But that's part of learning a new skill, is you gotta learn to get better at it. And even if a screenshot is great in terms of light quality, it's also why you should not shake your ref sheets, because sometimes people are going to pick the wrong colors. And you kind of have to be prepared for that. And this isn't like a way of saying like, well, people are doing this because it's your fault. I don't want anyone thinking like, well, because of what I think, you shouldn't be upset that people are going to possibly get your colors wrong. I'm saying because if it's going to happen at some point, if somebody's going to take your screenshots references at face value no matter what. But if you have a color palette that says, here are my character's colors, their fur or skin or hair or whatever is this color, this is the color of their clothes, this is the color of their eyes, etc., 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 then not only will you get accurate art of your OCs, but then artists will have no excuse of getting your character's colors wrong. Because, you know, the colors are right there. You could just pick them right there. Go on, they're right there. You made a lovely little palette. Click the colors. It'll save everyone a lot of heartache, especially you. Trust me. Which brings me to my next point. If your character has tattoos, detailed markings, or whatever on their clothes, skin, or fur, show us what they look like on a separate image. It's one thing if your character has like, I don't know, like a little heart drawn on their cheek, or like maybe they got like a visible scar. It's one thing if you have like a full sleeve of tattoos that is covering both of your arms and we're only seeing it from one angle, especially if it's something super intricate as a design. My OCs, Anime and Griffin, for example, both have tattoos, and I have a separate image that shows what the tattoo looks like, and on their full body reference, where and how it looks on their skin. As a John Seed enjoyer, do you know how fucking hard it was to find tattoo references for that man? So hard! He's so lucky I'm a dedicated fan, otherwise I would never have drawn his arms ever. That guy has like 40 tattoos. I remember cosplaying him and getting so annoyed with the company I would get temporary tattoos from to cosplay him that I went and I bought myself a tattoo pen just to draw them on, and it would take me forever to do so. You may have that awesome tatted up character, but if they look like this, and I cannot figure out what is on their bodies, they will likely be drawn wrong. Have a reference for their markings, please. Also, as a side note, as a queer priest enjoyer, you guys should check out Covenant. It's a good webcomic. Now, I know I said a lot of stuff that may sound like a lot of work, but again, you don't need to be able to draw to make some kind of reference. If you're like me and are too chronically busy to do small things, you could just find references, take a screenshot, hire an artist to draw it for you, or even put a sketch and a palette together. I've had friends use anything from Pit Crew to The Sims to design their OCs. There's no rule to what a ref sheet has to look like, so if you can't draw a ref sheet, it's okay. But if you can draw, don't just draw a front-facing reference sheet with an asterisk. And this tip has an asterisk attached because I have seen some good ref sheets of furry characters that are front-facing, but in most other cases, it's harder to see what details your character has if they're only front-facing. Now, you can pair this up with other poses as well, so don't be like, so I should never draw a front-facing pose of my character? No, just don't make your only full-body reference a front-facing one. I would recommend at least a headshot of your character at 3/4 head turn, and the reason why I personally don't think front-facing ref sheets work most of the time is because they leave out details and make it hard to see how aspects of a character's design works, especially in human hairstyles, and especially in human hairstyles that include side braids, undercuts, ponytails, things like that make it hard to see like where exactly some part of the hair attaches to the head. My ref sheets are all at a 3/4 view all the time, but you're free to have as many views of a character on your ref sheet as you want. So if you prefer having at least one front-facing view of your character, well fuck, I'm not your mom, you can do whatever you want. I do not recommend also having a character's whole bio on their ref sheet. The reason being is that if they're taking up so much space with words on the ref sheet, when your ref sheet should be a visual reference with some notes on some design aspects that you want to clear up that the drawing may not show. Artfight, Unveiled, Toy House, and other ref sheet hosting sites provide separate areas for bios. Use those for your character's information, and you'll have more space for the notes on your design aspects for your character, rather than taking it up with exposition you could put in the text sections. When commissioning an artist, I tend to link my OC's Toy House along with sending the ref. Artists will read the character's bio for drawing inspirations, but it'll keep your character bio separate from your visual reference. That way, it's a clutter issue, it'll keep it less cluttered. And I think that's it for this video. Now before this video ends, I decided to take that cluttered ref from the beginning of the video, and I remade it using the tips I presented in this video. But not only that, I made 3 versions of it. So let's get started. This character's name is Denny Brisket, by the way. She's a cast-off OC I made for an event, and I thought she'd be a fun subject for today's video. Now, here is my fully drawn digital ref. It's not much different from the verse version, except that now there is no rendering, the large character bio is removed, and I made the background less chaotic for easier readability. I just took like a painty brush and I just painted like some stuff behind it. If you want designs on your ref sheet, I recommend putting a light colored or white outline around your character themselves, and this will help separate them from the background. I went and I added a separate thing also from the first one where I added a back view of the hair to show how the braids connected to the head without the green bandana, and a separate eye shot because I have a way I like doing Denny's eyes versus how I usually do eyes that the regular ref sheet does not show. And I rendered the eyes because I don't need this kind of ref sheet, I already got the colors here on the side. And here's my second version of a ref sheet for Denny. Because I don't have a game I could quickly build her in and download a screenshot from my computer at the moment, I opted to do a traditional drawing of her with a color palette on the side that shows her colors, specifically a digital color palette, not a traditional one, a digital one. I did acrylic markers because that's just what I had on hand at the moment, and also it was a lot of fun to mess with them again. I edited the photo a bit on my phone to brighten the colors, but I still added that digital color palette because my colors on my traditional ref are not as accurate as I want them to be. And finally, I went ahead and I put together a list of photos and details as well as a pic group for my final reference sheet to show how using a reference with words and reference pictures could look. I found a pic crew that did elves and I made Denny in it, and I added some notes about her outfit as the pic crew I used and have something similar to what she wears on it. And I of course made a color palette for her since I knew what her color palette looked like. And just as like anybody who might be interested in the pic crew, I will be linking it down below. I hope this helps, and if you're on Artfight this year, find me a link down below. I will be participating again this time, and I do revenges before I start on attacks. Although I only do revenge chains with friends, don't ask me to attack you first. I will not. Last art fight, I was swamped with attacks, and asking me to attack you first will just make me not want to attack you at all. If you find this video helpful and like what I do, consider subscribing. I do storytime videos, and I have other art tutorials from the channel. I have one from last year about using Clip Studio Paint's vector tools, and another video about giving proper art critiques. I also do a series called What a Prompt, where if you're an artist low on ideas, you can find a prompt that challenges you creatively. And finally, if you see these characters and want to see more of them, they may or may not appear in my queer horror comic, In Harmony. If you like poets who vents through their poetry, weird guys in mirrors, and trans people starting a band all while hunting monsters in Appalachia, you may like In Harmony. And if you're already hooked and can't wait for the newest pages, consider subscribing to my Patreon. Members in the Meonic level get pages as early as 2 weeks ahead of everybody else. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!